Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a really chilly weekly garden tour. Today we were in the mid to low 20s. Everything is super frosty. The garden is looking kind of boring, so garden tours won't be very long at this season. But I wanted to start off here with these fabulous blueberries that are still really showing off their incredible fall color. All of the broccoli and cauliflowers that I transplanted last week are doing okay. They've gotten a bit shocked from how warm it was and then how suddenly cold we got. But you can see they are all still here, alive. Nothing melted completely. I didn't cover anything. It is time for me to go ahead and do more big cutbacks. So this Kufia is top of the list because the flowers are really sticky and they get into Sophia and Reginald's fur and they get dreadlocks. The driveway, I've been working to really take out a lot of the pots from here. So I've only got 2 containers now. I've got some floating flower arrangements. It's amazing how long those last with the cold weather. And I'm getting ready to really start doing the house swap. Which is crazy. I've been anticipating it for so long, and now that it's here, I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? This is actually a lot of work. But let me go ahead and turn this camera around so that you can see some of the progress that I've made here in my gardens, getting things cut back after the frost, and show you what everything's looking like. Oh, I can't believe how cold it is. Well, I'm in process getting Christmas lights out. I'm not that motivated because it's so chilly, but I did get this bed cut down, and I know it doesn't look very interesting, but that's okay. I'm not gonna do any seeding in this border until after the new year when I get the Christmas lights out. If y'all remember last year, I left these flower lights in and the cottage garden stuff grew up over it, and then they were just like stuck out here for months and months. So I'm gonna wait to do the seeding till I get this not lit up. There's literally nothing to show here at all. But Sophia wanted to show off that she is rambunctious and enjoying the cold weather. I did remove all the summer stuff, the cosmos and zinnias that were in the wave bed, and what you see now are winter active plants, lettuce, mustards, kale, broccoli, cauliflowers. They haven't really grown very well. I'll tell you what's growing really well in this border is all the veg, which is not awesome, but I have a ton of it. Again, I'm not gonna try and get this seeded until after the new year, so I'm not gonna do anything with the veg at this point. And hand removal is really the only option. None of the herbicides really seem to be effective on it at all, and even hand removal isn't gonna eliminate it. It's just gonna make it feel like I've done something. Well, hopefully you tuned in for the Japanese maple tour at David Sabio's house, which was spectacular. You see mine is a bit past its prime. The cold really makes all the leaves shrivel up. Lindera is now also kind of past its prime color. It'll stay this nice tawny though all winter long because it's tardily deciduous. And I did get started on filling the window box with some winter greenery. I have more to do. But again, I think we have some slightly warmer weather in the forecast, and I know I'll be more motivated. Right now it's in the low 40s and I don't really like to be outside. I actually have a bunch of epimedium that I'm going to be planting out here to try and take up some of the open space, and then I'm planning to get more Carex cherokeensis to really fill out this border. Right now in my game plan, I'm just really trying to look at how I can simplify beds. Probably the next week or so, we will go ahead and start doing some mow downs of the phlox, some of the perennial things, just to make things neat and tidy. I know that that's not always the advice that everybody gives, but I think I have a plenty of pollinator habitat in these gardens, that keeping a stand of phlox up past its prime isn't really necessary. So I always say, with the advice of like, leave it until you can't stand it anymore. I have a kind of a shallow threshold for that. I want to come through and, like, again, mow down the Tricertus, mow down the spent sedum, come through, mow down all the chrysanthemums, just make everything look a bit neat and tidy. And I am super excited that the winter sweet is blooming. I purposely came out here today to show you. Of course, I've limbed it up so much that you can barely get to where the flowers are. But this is such a wonderfully fragrant, very tall shrub. You might call it a small tree. And this is just a seed-grown variety. So it doesn't have the most spectacular flowers. You can see they're kind of pale yellow with a little burgundy, but their fragrance is absolutely extraordinary. This is definitely one of those plants that you smell before you see, and it's more fragrant on warmer days. Like, you can't really smell it a lot right now because it's so cold, but I am very excited that it's in bloom, and I'm going to do some pruning on it and bring the branches inside. And happy that the Alstroemeria has not frosted down. That usually, if we get to below 20, it melts to the ground. You know, this is one of my favorite things to use in floating flower arrangements. So happy to see that that is still protected. Mangave does not look impacted at all. Once it warms up just a little bit, I'm going to come through and cut back all those bananas and clean that bed up, get it reseeded with more arugula. Usually I have a really good stand of arugula in here, and for some reason this season I don't. You can see lots of winter weeds are active. They're the least of my concerns, really. I do have some nice, like, large sections of arugula, but usually I have this as like a solid ground cover. And checking here on my pots, I have not watered, and so don't see a lot of germination, though I do see some germination. So that's a good sign. I've already forgotten what I sowed where. And these are very dry. We are very dry. There's just, we're dry and cold. Two things I don't like. Don't look like this mangave is gonna make it, though I knew it wouldn't because it's flowering. But you can see that one has already melted. But this one is looking good. Still not too melty. Oh, it's pretty melty, actually. It's all right. The majority of the mangaves are in the greenhouse, and they look fantastic. This view is very anticlimactic. You can see the brugmansias melted. The plumbagos I'm gonna cut down to the ground. The pool is super ugly. Just kind of letting it evaporate. The less water in there, the easier it's gonna be to pull the liner out. I think I've decided to make this like a sunken patio, mostly because I don't want to go through the effort of filling it up with soil. So that's a to be continued project. Everything that I got transplanted over here is doing well. I have been conscious about trying to keep this stuff watered. Though the first night I forgot to put the cattle fence in, and the deer totally came in and ate a whole bunch. They are absolutely relentless. And hopefully you watched yesterday's video all about the kids coming to help me in the garden. You can see we really got this bed nice and clean. I have a lot of seedlings in here, but right now it's too cold for me to go through and do a seedling ID. So you can just see the green hue. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. The deer have been absolutely devouring all the broccoli. And you know, you can see the importance of broadleaf evergreens, things like gardenias, conifers like cryptomeria, hollies, look so good. I prefer when the Edgeworthias naturally drop their leaves instead of going through this frost phase. But you can see it's totally healthy, lots and lots of flower buds to come. And you know, that's always blooming in the middle of winter. And of course, everything is kind of just sort of stalled at this point because we've had several cold days in a row where really our highs are only in the low 40s. So a huge contrast compared to a week ago when I was in a sundress. You can see the Meta Sequoia planted here is starting to really get fantastic fall color. And lots of buds on the camellias. But with the colder weather, I think they're gonna stop blooming so fast. There were so many in bloom last week and I was like, gosh, what will I have to look forward to in March? So it's a good thing that we're getting some cold weather now. And you can see this side, we also got all this nicely cleaned up. We have not reseeded this section. I'm gonna bring in more compost and do this kind of intentionally. But we did get the majority of this bed reseeded, and you can really see where I need to come in with compost and extend the bed to include the trench, at least to a point. So I'll make a video about that process. Really won't get all of this dealt with until I rent a sod cutter, because there's no point in just covering up the grass. That will not kill it. That grass will come back with a vengeance, and maintaining this bed will be so much harder. So I am going to make sure that we do it correctly, and the correct way is to absolutely remove this centipede turf. Decided I needed to come into the greenhouse to warm up, and it feels great in here even without a heater. Everything is doing really well. The lows, it got to 32 degrees, but nothing is frosted. So it's pretty interesting. I think the moisture from the air is one of the reasons that plants collapse from cold weather. The greenhouse is preventing that cold, wet air from landing on the plant material. So I'm really happy to see how everything's looking. And I could probably water, but I think I'll wait until tomorrow. I do have a photographer who's rented the space for the weekend. So I got my rainbow wall taken down, and tomorrow I will clear out everything else that's back there, because she's gonna be coming on Friday to set up Christmas trees and like a sleigh and like a whole scene. So the people that signed up to do their family portraits will get to have, you know, this cool greenhouse view. I'm pretty excited to see what she does. It's certainly not something that ever even crossed my mind that a photographer would want to use the space. So I'm really excited for this venture. And yesterday we got to use the greenhouse with the students, and wow, it's a game changer. You know, I've been running classes for more than a decade with no covered outdoor space, and I can't even express how incredible it is to be able to have this greenhouse now as a home base. It makes all the difference in the world, especially when it's cold out like right now. And I do need to add a cat door, because Sophia is completely obsessed with coming in here, and she likes to take naps, and she gets mad when I have the doors shut. Well, the big taxodium is in its absolute fall glory, looking really spectacular. And well, I have some more soil to move. You can't even see where I was building that bed. It's kind of funny. But this is part of the reason that I love the idea of having a garden here, is that it is self-mulching, and there's a lot more needles to fall. I'm also still collecting leaves, and I need to go ahead and spread these out. And in general, the most interesting gardens here are the native borders. And I know I've often been very critical of these particularly of my design or lack thereof. But in this moment, I'm really pleased with how the native gardens are looking. No, I have not collected any seed yet. I have been completely distracted with a million other things, including setting up for the holidays, which I have all the Christmas lights sitting out here on the front porch, but it needs to be like 10 degrees warmer. When I have been doing some decorating inside, you can see my favorite Christmas decoration is this tree that the Savios got me. And I like to keep the Christmas decorations in this house themed blue so everything matches. And I've been working on the tree and have some mantle work. And I've got the goal of getting this all cleaned up for Saturday because Aiden is having his 18th birthday party here. So I need there to not be glass balls all over the house for a bunch of teenagers. Well, after the birthday party, there is nothing stopping me from doing the house transition. So hopefully by the next weekly garden tour, I will have made a bit more progress. And I certainly am wishing you all the very best. And I hope that you are staying as warm as possible, that all of your gardens look great, and I look forward to sharing another update with you next week. As always, thanks for watching, and happy gardening, everybody.